Welcome to the Latino podcast, where we discuss the intersection of law and our Latino communities with legal, political, and community leaders and visionaries. Let's get started.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jessica Lujan, your host today of the Latino podcast, where we bring together Latino lawyers and leaders to talk about the intersection of law and our Latino culture. And today it's my pleasure to have as a very special guest, Vanessa Felix Corona. Vanessa, you'll tell us all about yourself, but it's super exciting to have you here today.
Thank you.
Today's episode is a little bit different just because we've had, attorneys and people who are, we can say, established leaders, right, in the community already. But today we're going to have you, a current law student. So we're super happy to see, the actual students who this podcast is supposed to inspire and help guide. So let's talk a little bit about you. Tell us about your background. What is it that you do? You're in law school. We want to know all about that.
Yeah. So I'm a 3L at Thomas Jefferson School of Law in San Diego. I am originally from Phoenix, Arizona, and I actually moved to San Diego to start law school. Prior to that, I've never visited San Diego, so it was super exciting to come here because it's beautiful.
Yeah, everyone knows you want to be in San Diego. That's
right. You have the ocean. Arizona has lakes.
Especially coming from Phoenix. So I actually didn't know you were from Phoenix.
Yeah.
I have a ton of family there.
Oh,
yeah.
you do?
Can't complain. So my husband's from Phoenix. All my family's there.
Oh,
I love Phoenix, but it's definitely not the beach.
Yeah, definitely not. My family, I want to originally, being from there, I want to move my family here, my parents at least, once they're able to retire, things like that. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually, I don't know if you knew, but that's what I did. So I'm from El Paso, Texas, another, desert city, and my parents are up here with me now. So.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah. I get that. Obviously, so tell me about your background. Sounds like family is really important to you.
Yeah, they're my number one. I come from a bigger family. There's 7 of us total.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm the second oldest. My oldest sister is about to be 30. And I'm 26, and we're all super close in age. So my mom had us back to back to back. My youngest, he is the only boy in the family, so he's the baby. He's 22, and then my 2 baby sisters, not really babies, they're 23, both of them. One was January, and one was born in November.
Oh, wow.
So, and then I'm the second oldest, I'm 26, and then 30. So we all grew up together, super close in age. Family, traveling was always so fun.
I can imagine.
Yeah. And it's we're all best friends. So it's great. And then my mom and my dad always have something to do. So
yeah, of course. Your mom sounds like Superwoman. So, tell me about that.
Thank you.
How was it coming out? Did you miss home?
I did. I think coming to law school, I took 3 years off from undergrad before I came to law school.
And where'd you go to undergrad?
At Northern Arizona University.
Okay.
So I moved here and grew up with my family my entire life. I never left them. My undergrad is only 2 hours from home. So I would go to school. Closer. Yeah, I would go to school Monday through Thursday. And then I would come home every weekend. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I was home with my family. So moving to San Diego, I literally cried every day for the first month being away from home, to the point where my dad was like, Mija, it's okay. I know you took out loans. We'll figure it out. Come home if you want to come home.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I want to do this. I just need to adjust, and it's going to take time, but we'll get there. Yeah. So that was a huge adjustment. But now I'm practically love living alone, and they do visit often, and they all kind of take turns because, like I said, there's 7 of us.
Yeah.
So I always have someone over. And if they're not over, my boyfriend's visiting, who is also from Arizona.
Okay.
So it's super nice to have that time for myself, because also law school is very demanding. So having that time to really focus and lock in when I need to, but then also having family come visit when I have free time and need that kind of little escape from the stress of law school.
Yeah, for sure. We'll definitely get into the stress of law school. I still have nightmares about it, I feel like. But what were some of the things that you missed the most? So first of all, what's your ethnicity? What's your family? Tell us a little bit about that. Are they immigrants? Where are you from?
Yeah, I'm Mexican. My mom is from Zacatecas.
Okay.
And she came to the States when she was 13. She actually lived in Fresno, California, which is where she met my dad. And she was like going through the immigration process, which is why I wanted to go to law school. Because her process was really hard on her. And my parents grew up not ever telling us like all the bad stuff that happened or all like the worries. So growing up, we all thought we had like this like amazing life. Like it was great. But we never knew like all the like stresses in their life, which I think is good, but also not the best. Like I think it's good for us growing up as kids, like knowing what our family goes through, knowing what our parents are going through to an extent, obviously, because we're young, we don't understand it. But yeah, my mom came when she was 13. She went through the immigration process. And during that process, her mom sponsored her immigration application and then passed away in the process.
Oh, wow.
And my mom was really young. I think she was 25 when her mom passed away. So her application was ultimately denied because of that, because her mom wasn't there anymore. But my dad did sponsor her once they got married, and 13 years later, she became a citizen. And I think going through that process, like I said, we didn't know about it until we had court, like a family court, because so when we did that, that's when I kind of knew like, oh, what's going on here? Because we all went, my parents just told us like, oh, we're going to an appointment, like be on your best behavior, like be quiet, don't be loud, don't fight.
Do you remember how old you were?
I was a freshman in high school.
Okay, so you were aware and you know, you're starting to ask questions.
To an extent, like I was like, what are we doing here? At the time, I thought we were in criminal court, and I was like, oh, maybe my dad did something because my mom's an angel.
Yeah.
And then even leaving that, my mom didn't really tell us what happened. She was just like, oh, like, don't worry about it. Like, it's like, we're done with that. Yeah. So I was like, okay. And then down the road, I went to school for criminal justice.
Okay.
Always been interested in that field. Not really sure why, because I don't come from a background in that. So I did that, and I was working at an immigration law firm after I graduated. And it wasn't until then I was looking through the files and I saw my mom's name in the archive files.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, what
a coincidence.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't want to look because it's privacy. Like, that's my mom's business.
That's insane.
But I ended up going home and I was like, Mom, the weirdest thing happened at work. And that's when she like pulled out all the documents she had, went through everything with me. And I was like, what the heck? Like, I had no idea. And like, I knew we went to court. I didn't know what it was for really. And I don't really remember much of it. I think like I just kind of blocked it out of my memory.
Yeah.
But I think the reason I blocked it out was because obviously it was a hard time for my parents. Their 5 kids are there. We have no idea what's going on. It's like they're kind of having to bring the truth out in front of us at that time. Right. So we didn't really know. I remember like my mom and dad crying at different points during the proceeding, but I didn't know what was going on.
Right.
So I think that's why my memory just blocked it out unconsciously. And then, like I said, it wasn't until she explained the process that I was like, oh my God, I did not know that. And I didn't know that like she had went through like 4 different attorneys because like either they couldn't help her or I don't really know too much about it. But hearing that story, I was like, oh, wow, like I want to go to law school. I wanted to be an immigration attorney at the time. And I was like, I just want to help families. Like there's a lot of people who are not super knowledgeable in the law and don't know what to do or don't know what path to take or just go on Google and look up immigration attorney and go to the first attorney they see with not knowing like, okay, does this person have a good reputation? Do they know the law? Things like that.
Or they hire notaries who kind of take advantage of
or they try to do it themselves or a family member's like, oh, I went through it. Like, let me do it for you.
Yeah.
So I really I saw that and I was like, I want to help. So then I took that 3-year gap because I was working at law firms because also law school is very expensive.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't want to go into something that I don't know for certain I want to do. Like, what if I do it and I hate it?
Right.
And I'm in debt. So I was working at law firms. And then, like I said, I worked at the immigration law firm. And I was like, yeah, I want to do this. I want to be an attorney. So then I applied, ended up in San Diego.
That's awesome.
Complaints. And it's been going great.
Yeah. I mean, that's great that you got that experience and you were kind of able to see what you were getting yourself into. Or at least aspiring to.
Right.
And I just find it so crazy. So, you know, just talking to a lot of the people I know, right, other Latinos and Latinas, all of our stories are similar in, you know, for example, having to block out certain memories or having that general concern for your family, knowing that there's more, right, than meets the eye. Yeah. But then they're also different. So it's just crazy, right?
Yeah. And like so many of us have very similar stories, but like you said, they're like they're so similar, but they're very different.
Very different and unique.
But we can all relate because we've all gone through something like that, whether it's immigration or criminal or anything.
Right.
Like we all have a story.
Right. So I love that. I mean, I actually didn't know that specific story.
Yeah.
Talking about stories. So, I mean, the first way I, came across you was with an application. So you had applied for a scholarship with La Raza. And it was before I was president of the scholarship fund, but I was still reviewing applications. And during that application process, people who apply come with, stories of hardship and struggle, but also with stories of how they want to better their communities. So tell me about that. You're very involved with La Raza. I mean, you're an inspiration to a lot of other law students, I'm sure. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So actually, when I started law school, I joined an organization at school, a student organization. It was the Women's Law Association.
Okay.
And they had what they have, they call it a professional makeover. And they do it every year on the first semester. And what I've seen is a lot of 1Ls take the opportunity to go to these events because they offer like professional headshots. They offer like mock interviews. They offer resume workshops. So I saw that and I was like, oh, that's a great opportunity for me to come in here and like see what I can gain out of this. And so I went and I had a mock interview with an attorney who worked for the city attorney's office. And I don't know what it was, but I had that interview with her. It was like a mock interview and she talked to me, she gave me feedback. And then at the end of it, she gave me her cell phone number and was like, reach out to me if you ever need anything. And then I was like, can I ask you a question? What can I do to get involved in the community, especially not being from here? But I do plan to stay here. And so she told me about La Raza and she's like, oh, like get involved with La Raza, get involved with Latinas in the law. And she's also Hispanic. So I was like, oh, I love this. Like, yes, I will do that. And I literally went home that same day, looked everything up, applied. And like, I remember sending her a message like, hey, I did exactly what you said. Like, this is all the information I found. Like, thank you so much. And I think doing that and doing it right away kind of like showed that I was motivated and I really wanted to do it. And I listened and I followed direction. So I think that ended up helping me out because then she reached out to an attorney that I'm super, super grateful for now, Marco Garcia.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good friend.
She reached out to him, had a conversation with him, and then he reached out to me. And I remember like he called me my 1L year. I was working on like a memo for Legal Writing 1.
Oh, gosh.
And it was during the same time that the gala was going to happen for La Raza, so the annual scholarship dinner. And we were just talking, and he invited me. He's like, you should come. I'm going to try and find you a free ticket because as a law student, I was like, I can't spend $300 on a ticket.
Right. I mean, we even try to find dresses and do like a gown drive.
Yeah. So I was like super excited, but also I was like, oh my God, this is my first event. I'm going by myself. Like,
yeah, it's a big event. I mean, 300, 400 people. So
So I went to that and I saw him there. And from that moment on, like, I remember going to that event, and it's so funny how everything comes full circle because I went to that event and like I said, I was nervous. I was scared. I didn't know anyone. And I saw this group of people sitting in the front of the event, and it just so happened to be John Gomez and you guys. And I was like, I remember seeing you guys and I was like, oh my God, they're so cool. And so I was just like, wow, I want to know them. Like, I'm so inspired by them and I don't even know them or what they do or anything. And like leaving that event, I looked up like Gomez trial attorneys and I saw it and I was like, oh my God, so cool. Personal injury. Love that.
Yeah.
And I ended up interning down the road at the city attorney's office with the attorney that I met my 1L year. And I loved it. Great experience. Got so much like experience in court and trial, things like that. And just kind of really set the standard for like me knowing what I wanted to do. And I went to go grab lunch one day, like pick up my lunch on my lunch break. And I saw John Gomez. It was at Mendocino. Yeah, it was at Mendocino. And I remember he was alone. So I was like, oh, it's my perfect opportunity to say hi.
Did you actually go say
I
hi?
did.
Wow.
And like internally, I was like having conversations in my head, like with all the anxiety and everything. And I was like,
I can imagine.
Do I do it? I'm scared. But I was like, he's literally alone. So I was like, what's the worst I can
It's actually his favorite place. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember I went up to him and I was like, hi, are you Attorney Gomez? Even though I knew it was him.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah. And he was like so excited and like enthusiastic. And I was like, oh my God, I love that. I love that he's not like, what is this law school doing? Like law student talking to me. So,
and that's the thing about him. He's so nice, so welcoming.
And I had never talked to him before. So I was like, oh God, I'm scared. But then he ended up inviting me to have lunch with him that same moment. And I was like, oh God, I wasn't expecting this. Like, I just want to say hi and then like go away.
I have to be on my A game during this lunch.
But I was like, okay, so once in a lifetime opportunity, let's do it. That's and awesome. I learned about his family. I learned like he had just recently had a baby at that time.
Yeah.
He was telling me about his wife, like all these things, his like adults are like 16 at the time. But like, just like telling me about his family and personal things that I was like, I just met you. This is amazing. Like, I feel like I already know you.
Yeah.
And like, just so personable.
He's very relatable, very personable family man, for sure.
Yeah. So like leaving that lunch, I knew I was like, I want to work there. Like, I want to try it, see what it's like. That was 1L. Now I'm a 3L interning here as a law clerk. So I'm like, everything comes full circle and it's crazy because I really wanted to work here as a 1L. But it didn't happen right away. It took time. And I'm like forever grateful for that because I feel like what perfect time to do it now that I'm a 3L, I'm about to finish. Like, I know that I want to do personal injury now after having several internships in different areas of law and working in different areas as a legal assistant. But yeah, it's been great. Like,
that's crazy. So, I mean, actually, I didn't know that you had been thinking about Gomez trial attorneys and everything since you were a 1L.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. I mean, I won't take too much credit, but no, I mean, once I met you and, you know, I saw you networking at events and, you know, talked to John and it was like, we got to have her, like, she's great. And talking about, you know, you going back right away to the city attorney or the deputy city attorney and following up, you do that all the time. So we're super happy to have you.
Thank you.
And so what's your favorite part about interning with us so far?
Honestly, the amount of information I'm able to gain while I'm here. Like, I feel like I've learned so much. And like, I tell my family all the time, like, I'm like, oh yeah, I have school tomorrow. And I'm like, but I have work. I'm so excited to go to work. I love working there.
That's awesome.
And I think that that's important. Like going to intern, whether that's interning or working or volunteering, to events or things or places that you enjoy being in.
Yeah.
So like here, I love coming to work. Like, I'm always excited to come here because I know I'm going to learn something new, like working on demand letters, things like that. Like, I've learned so much information, like personal, to cases, but also legal practice. And I think that that's very important. Like my 1L year, I was able to get court experience at the city attorney's office.
Yeah.
And here I'm able to get experience in my writing abilities and improving that. Yeah. So I really like it.
That's awesome. And I mean, but you know, we're about to go to trial, so that'll be a whole team endeavor. I mean, so just so the audience knows, you're on Team Mason. That's my team. And so, we're about to go to trial, and you got to sit in on kind of like the trial intake and figure out the role that everybody was going to play. So I think that'll be great. You'll get to watch opening arguments, closing arguments.
I'm excited.
I just heard John's actually going to be trying the case too with us. So awesome.
Yeah, that'll be exciting just to sit in. Like, I feel like every time I see you guys, I just get more and more inspired.
Excited. Yeah. And why PI? I mean, what do you think? You started off immigration and then you've kind of shifted. Why do you think?
Honestly, I did I was a legal assistant back in 2019 at a personal injury law firm in Arizona.
Okay.
And it was during COVID, so it was very short. It was like 3 months. And I really, really enjoyed it. And the attorneys I was working with in Arizona were so knowledgeable, like some of the smartest attorneys that I've ever met. And they just like the way that they knew the law and the way that they were able to articulate it to the clients. It always like left a little bit of interest in me. And then I wanted to try out all kinds of different areas just to kind of know what I wanted to do. So I never went back to PI, but within those 3 months, I knew I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And then I came into law school, and I did the city attorney's office, and I did immigration before law school. I also did criminal defense. I loved criminal defense.
Okay.
So I came into law school and I was like, okay, I know my top two are criminal defense and PI.
Okay.
I've already did as a legal assistant in criminal defense, so I know I like it.
Yeah.
But PI, I only had 3 months. So I feel like I owe myself the opportunity to go back and see which one I like more.
Okay.
And so I interned previously to here. I interned somewhere else and I loved it. So I was like, okay, I haven't found a single thing I don't like about PI. So I think this is where I'm supposed to be.
Okay.
So yeah, ever since then, I'm just like, okay, I think I definitely know I want to do personal injury.
Okay, see, and that's very you. I knew you would have a good thought out answer because like I said, you're very organized, you're very detail oriented. With that said, so those are skills that are really useful, in law practice and in law school, I'm sure. So tell me a little bit about your law school experience.
Yeah. It's been amazing. I feel so blessed to have the opportunity to even go get into law school and remain in law school because, as you know, a lot of students get dropped for grades and things like that. And also a lot of people leave because it's just too stressful.
Yeah.
And it's hard. But it's been great. I am president of my law school's Raza Students Association.
Yeah.
And I've been blessed to do that for 2 terms. I applied my 1L year, or I ran for president my 1L year. And I surprisingly won. So I was oh, wow, like me, little old me. Okay, like, let's do it. So that was very exciting because like I come from a Mexican family. I come from a cultural Mexican household. And I just like love being Mexican.
Yeah. And how proud do your parents feel? I'm sure that they're just over the moon, excited, and just
they're
super proud
my
of
number
you.
one fans. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Like I love calling them and just telling them because they're so involved, and even though they don't have like a legal background or really know anything, like anything I tell them, they're like, "Oh my God, Mija, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah,
that's amazing."
And then I'm sure your aunts and friends, and everybody knows about it. And,
yeah. So and like it's funny enough because going into law school, I didn't tell my family, like my aunts and uncles. Like I told my sisters and my dad and my mom. But I didn't really tell any of my tias and tios and cousins. I just kind of was like, I moved here. And also I think a lot of us can relate to going into law school is very exciting, but you don't know that 1L year, you could be dropped.
Right.
So it's also okay, I'm kind of scared to even tell the world I'm in law school. Put it out there. Let me make sure that I'm going to stay and then I'll announce it.
Yeah.
But now that they follow me on Instagram and they see the little posts that I make here and there, they're all super supportive too. And they're oh my God, you're about to graduate. That's crazy. That's so exciting. It's nice to have that support for sure.
What about your siblings? Older sibling, younger siblings, how do they feel about it?
Oh my God, they're hilarious. They're just so when are you going to retire us?
Yeah.
And they just think being a lawyer, you have this lavish lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I'm yeah,
that's
maybe. Funny. I don't know.
Do you think you inspire them? Are any of them saying, I want to be a lawyer too? Or are they no, that's a lot of hard work?
I think they definitely are no, it's a lot of hard work. Yeah. And we see you studying all the time. We don't know how you do it. I'll be up during midterms and finals. Sometimes I won't even sleep. I'll be up all night studying and memorizing, and every student has writing on the whiteboard and everything you memorize, and to them they're how do you memorize all of that? So I think it's very cool that law students are able to memorize so much, because I think you don't ever pressure yourself or put that pressure on yourself to have to memorize everything so much,
right?
Until you're in law school or medical school. So to them they're oh my God, you're a superhero. That's crazy. You're so smart. And I'm yeah, it's hard.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, but no, they don't want to be lawyers. My oldest sister is a teacher.
Okay.
And then my younger siblings, one wants to be a real estate agent, so she's in the process of doing the schooling to take the exam for that.
Okay.
And the other one is she just graduated from ASU and she wants to do construction management.
Oh, very cool.
So yeah, very, very different. I was okay, that's kind of cool in a male-dominated field.
Yeah.
But it's nice. She's working for custom homes out in Arizona, so she's always sending videos of these really nice homes.
Oh, nice.
And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Like,
yeah.
So very different. Because like I said, I don't know. I never saw her doing something like that.
Yeah.
And my brother, he's not sure yet right now. He's working with my dad because my dad owns a landscaping business.
Okay.
And so I think the thought is that my dad is going to hand it down to him once he's ready to retire. But he loves it. He likes to do that. He likes to make quick money. And so.
Very cool. That's awesome. I mean, and you say you want to stay here. So, I mean, tell me about that. Why San Diego? What do you love about San Diego? You've been here long enough where you probably know a few places.
Yeah. Everything. Like, I love the beach. I just love even going there to, whether it's like going on a run there, going a walk, or like going and just parking my car, opening up my trunk in Torrey Pines.
Yeah.
Where I can just see the ocean. Like something about the ocean is just so calming, especially while you're in law school. It's very stressful.
Oh, yeah.
So it's nice. Like I'll bring my laptop fully charged and I'll just like do my readings and take notes while I'm there. And like there's so many nice coffee shops here and the weather's amazing. Like I come from Arizona. It's really hot. You can't go outside. You don't want to go outside.
Yeah.
So coming here, like I remember seeing people going on walks with their dogs or riding a bike, and like you never see that in Arizona. At least I didn't.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, it's beautiful here and the weather's nice. So I think that's my number one, the weather. I don't like being hot.
And I think that's the general, consensus from all people who come from Phoenix, Arizona. I mean, I know I have neighbors and my husband, like I said, and they're just like, we will never do it again. So it's definitely, and I think the people here, like everyone's kind of friendly. There's a good community. Tell me a little about like involvement in the community. I know you do a lot of La Raza, but what does that look like? What are some of your favorite events or networking opportunities?
So I'm very involved with the Lawyers Association for La Raza in San Diego.
Okay.
I like absolutely love that organization. I always tell everyone it feels like home. And I feel like when I'm at these events with like all these older folks, I feel like I'm like at a fiesta with my tios and tias. And like I'm not so young, I'm 26, but I still feel like a little kid. And I feel like when these older attorneys see me, they're like, oh, this is like my niece.
Yeah.
And so it's hard in a sense of like, I feel like I want to be taken serious and I don't want to be seen as a child. But at the same time, I'm like, I love this. I love that I can see you. And I'm like, I feel comfortable to go up to you and have a conversation because I don't see you as like, I see you as an attorney.
Yeah.
But I also see you as like my deal.
Right.
And like, I don't know you, but I feel like you're my family.
And I think that's huge about, La Raza and other Hispanic Latino events in general. Everybody there just wants to help out and embrace and
everybody's so welcoming. Like everybody welcomes you with a hug and a smile and it's just such a great place to be in. I'm also involved in other organizations. Like I'm involved with the J. Clifford Wallace Inn of Court out in North County. And that one's amazing too. And like every organization that I'm involved in offers different things. Mm-hmm. So like from La Raza, I get that family like aspect.
Yeah.
And from the one in North County, I get that very like professional environment where I get to learn. Like we do presentations every month at our monthly meetings. So like we'll do like a mentoring presentation or how to do an opening statement. So I get like legal practical skills and like mentorship opportunities through them, which I love. Yeah, and I think it's important to like be involved in the community in different areas and in different ways because you gain like really rewarding abilities and things from each different organization.
Yeah. I mean, you're really good at networking. So I've been around you at events, and sometimes I'm like, man, I could learn a little bit from her. So, what's your secret? Like, what are some tips that you would give, first year law student or university undergrad student or even high school students? What are some of the tips you would give them for networking?
Honestly, it's like I just went to an undergraduate school. I think it was SDSU with a friend of mine who's also pretty involved in the community. And we spoke to the undergraduate pre-law students there who want to go into law school. And I was telling them, I was like, I don't really know. Like the best tip I could give you is just get out there, go to an event find organizations that feel close to home or find an event that you can almost relate to. Like, for instance, La Raza, the gala. like, okay, that's an amazing event because it's full of so many young and older professionals that are either like starting off or have been in the game for a long time. And you could just go and meet people and like somebody will talk to you, even if you're scared, even if you go alone and you don't know anyone. If you make eye contact with someone, they're guaranteed to say hi.
Yep.
So I would say like, even if like get out of your comfort zone, and even though it's uncomfortable, like you will be okay and you will leave these events so inspired and like so ready to go home and study or like do your homework, really do that essay. And it's a great place to kind of escape your reality for a second, but see what your future could be or what your future could look like.
Yeah, that's great advice. So true. Yeah, I mean, it happens to me. Like, I'll listen to, John or other attorneys speak, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to go kick butt. So,
yeah, and it's so cool to, like, see, like I said, my 1 year I went to this event, and I saw you guys, and, like, I saw John in his pinstripe suit, and I was like, oh my God, he looks so cool.
Yeah, it's that pinstripe suit. I was telling him when we did a podcast, one of the episodes, that I remember the first time I saw him was after a gala as well. And I remember seeing him and he was like, what was I wearing? And I'm like, the pinstripe suit.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So that's awesome. I mean, so you talked a little bit about, people who have kind of helped you along the way. So we have, city attorney, we talked about Marco. Is there, I'm flattered. But is there someone who, you might want to give a shout out to or say, wow, with this person, they were such a huge mentor. I just really appreciate them, and this is what they did for me.
Yeah, my shout out would be to Marco Garcia, because literally from the day I met him, he has been like the biggest support. Whether I have a question, like I know I can text him right away, or I can be like, hey, can you call me in 5 minutes? Like I really need your help, or like if I need a letter of recommendation, or if I just have advice, like if I need advice, I'm like, hey, like I want to work at this place, or like, hey, like I'm interested in this, or anything I need. I feel like I can go to him and he always has an answer, or can send me somewhere to find an answer. Yeah. And he's always there. Like, even though he's so busy. Oh my gosh. He's always there. And he's always like he was the one that was like, oh, like you need to run for president. Cause I was like, oh, I'm a 1L. Like, I don't want to take the opportunity from maybe a 2L who's on the board and wants to run. But also nobody talks about what they're going to run for. They just do it. Yeah. So he was like, so do it. Yeah. What's the worst that can happen? You lose. Okay. You run again. Yeah. And like, I did it. And I remember I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I won. And like, I think I texted him first. Yeah. And like, now he ran for president for La Raza San Diego Lawyers Association and won. Exciting. So I'm like, wow, it's all coming full circle. We love it.
It is. So that's awesome. I mean, I have all great things to say about Marco. So I'm not surprised. I'm sure he'll listen to this episode and he'll be very flattered as well. So, so that's all, the mentorship, and that's great. Is there anything that you would like to see more of? I mean, you're still a law student. So, while we still have you as a law student, is there anything that you think, we Latino leaders could be doing better for other Latino students, in the legal community? I mean, whether that be more mentorship or more scholarship money, I don't know. Is there anything that we're lacking that you think students need?
I don't think so. I think you guys are doing everything that you possibly can and more. I think, if anything, I would love to see more law students getting out there and taking advantage of these opportunities while you're in law school. But no, I think you guys do more than enough. Like, you welcome us to all your events for free. And a lot of organizations do. And like, you can reach out to anybody in any organization, and 99.9% of the time, they want to help you as a law student. Yeah. So I think you guys are doing amazing. I don't think there's anything more that you guys can be doing for us. Like I said, I think it's just, I would love to see more law students getting out there.
Yeah. Maybe it's our marketing. Maybe we just need to get better with social media and, catch up with all the younger generations. That's good to know. So yeah, I mean, I guess just to finish off, what are your goals? You have very exciting times coming ahead. So tell us about that, and where do you see yourself, after graduating, obviously taking the bar, and then just beyond that?
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like I said, I finished in December, so it's coming really fast. I just finished midterms. And it was very exciting. Like, yesterday I finished my last midterm. I was like, oh my God, this is my last midterm ever. And I called my dad and told him that. And he's so funny. He was like, yeah, nice. So you still have finals, right? And I was like, yeah, but this is my last midterm, Dad. Yeah. Like, come on, get with the program. And he's like, in his mind, he's like, what is a midterm?
Yeah.
But I think my plan and what I'm excited for is finishing in December and going all in for the bar exam, because I only want to take it once.
Yeah.
And I want to pass the first time. So, but after that, I really hope to stay clerking where I am, which is Gomez Trial Attorneys.
Awesome.
So that's what I'm praying for. We'll see. But yeah,
I do you well. Exciting work.
Yeah, I would love the opportunity to like stay as long as I can. Like I said, I love it here. And I know it's weird that like I'm saying this because I'm in a podcast with you guys. But I don't know. I just love it here, and I would love to stay here. I mean, if it doesn't end up happening, that's okay too. But that's my goal right now. My goal is to stay here. My goal is to pass the bar and work here as an attorney and just really grow. And like, I think one thing that really helped me make that decision is how involved John is in the community with La Raza. And like, because it's so close to home for me, and I love the organization with everything that I have, because it's done so much for me in law school and as a law student, that I think what better place to be at than here.
Well, it's awesome. I mean, and you're well on your way to making all those goals come true, and we love having you. And thank you for joining us for this podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, just for all our listeners, thank you for listening to us today. This episode is brought to you by Gomez Trial Attorneys. We're a personal injury and employment and civil rights law firm based out of San Diego, California. We hope that you enjoyed our episode today with Vanessa. And stay tuned for more. Thank you all.
Thank you for listening to the Latino podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.